Pull up a chair, because we need to talk about what just happened in the Senate Judiciary Committee. If you've ever felt like American politics is a game of gotcha, played with the highest possible stakes, this transcript is the textbook definition. It's 2026, and the tension between local law enforcement and federal immigration mandates hasn't just reached a boiling point, it's overflowing. We're looking at a raw, high-friction exchange between Senator John Kennedy, the man who has turned folksy interrogation into a lethal art form, and the Sheriff of Durham County, North Carolina. This wasn't just a hearing, it was a character trial. Kennedy, with that slow, deliberate cadence we've all come to recognize, spent the first several minutes trying to pin the sheriff down on a very specific contradiction, the gap between what he says in the halls of Congress and what he tells his constituents back home. The sheriff starts by playing it down the middle. He speaks clearly, professionally, asserting that he believes in accountability and consequences. He even claims he would cooperate with ICE if they would cooperate with me. It's the kind of diplomatic answer designed to survive a hearing, but Kennedy wasn't looking for diplomacy. He was looking for the record. Before we get into the moment Kennedy effectively told the sheriff his pants were on fire, I have to stop and say, if you value this kind of deep dive, no-nonsense political analysis, please hit that subscribe button right now. We are bringing you these professional reports every single day because the mainstream news cycle moves too fast to catch the nuance of these institutional fractures. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now so you don't miss our upcoming breakdown on the new federal detainer laws.
Sheriff, you're Sheriff of Durham County.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful parish. Or we call our counties parishes, beautiful county. Is it at least part of your job to protect the public?
Yes, it is.
Okay. You believe that vetting people at the border is racist, do you not?
I'm sorry?
You believe that vetting people at the border is racist, do you not?
No, I've never said that. I believe that having secure borders is important, and we have processes that allow individuals to come into the country the right way. Absolutely.
You believe that people should be able to violate federal immigration laws without consequences, don't you?
No, sir, I do not. I believe that anyone who violates federal or state law needs to be held accountable, and there need to be consequences.
You don't believe in cooperating with ICE, do you?
I believe in cooperating with federal authorities, as I do. A number of federal agencies I cooperate with, and I certainly would cooperate with ICE if they would cooperate with me.
Okay. You were elected in 2018, Sheriff, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. On April 18, 2018, you gave an interview with a media organization called Indie Week. Do you remember that?
I'm familiar with the paper, yes.
Okay. Here's what you said. I'm quoting you, your words, not mine. I disagree with the incumbent sheriffs, that's the guy you beat, with the incumbent sheriff's cooperation with ICE. I will make a clear and uncompromising commitment to not cooperate with ICE. As sheriff, I will not honor ICE detainers, and we will not participate in ICE roundups, end quote. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In April of last year, you spoke to a group of ICE employees. Do you remember that?
Not particularly, no.
Okay, well, there was an article in a media organization, a media entity called the Assembly. Are you familiar with them? Do you remember?
I've heard of the Assembly, yes, sir.
Yeah, do you remember giving them an interview?
I give several interviews.
Sure.
I actually don't remember that particular one, but I'm...
Okay. Well, here's what you said in the interview. apparently on the record. These ICE employees that you spoke to, you were referencing them, and you said, quote, these ICE officials, asked me, so Sheriff, if someone is about to be released from your jail and the detainer is about to expire, you will call us and let us know? What was my answer? You said, no, because that's not what the law says. No, I will not call ICE. End quote. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
And, sir, Senator, that was before the new law, which is now House Bill 318, which requires me to make that second phone call.
Right. Yeah.
Prior to that, it was not state law, which I follow and all my deputies follow.
Sure.
And so now we do make that second phone call. But ICE agents are notified whenever someone is entered processed into my jail.
Do you need some water? Because I think your pants are on fire.
The atmosphere shifted the second Kennedy pulled out the quotes. He cited an interview from 2018 where the sheriff made an uncompromising commitment to not cooperate with ICE. The sheriff's body language here is fascinating. He doesn't flinch, but you can hear the shift in his tone. It becomes more defensive, more legalistic. He tries to hide behind the new law, House Bill 318, essentially saying, I didn't have to call them back then, but I do now. But Kennedy had a trump card, a name. Carlos Heriberto Mendoza Martinez. Kennedy laid out a rap sheet that silenced the room. Illegal entry from Mexico, gang affiliation, a manslaughter conviction in Mexico, and recent arrests for domestic violence. This wasn't a border crosser in the abstract. This was a violent offender. Kennedy's voice dropped an octave, dripping with that trademark incredulity. He asked why the sheriff wouldn't honor the ICE detainer for a man like that. The sheriff's response is a masterclass in bureaucratic shielding. He repeatedly says he follows the judge's conditions of release and that he is merely a custodian.
Do you remember a gentleman by the name of Carlos Heriberto Mendoza Martinez?
Not right off, sir, no.
Okay. Sheriff, you should. He was in our country illegally from Mexico. He was in a street gang. Back in Mexico, he was convicted of manslaughter. And he was in your jail. And because in 2021 and 2024, Mr. Martinez was arrested for assaulting a woman and domestic violence. And ICE placed a detainer on this guy because he was in our country illegally. And he was a criminal. And he was in your jail. And you wouldn't honor that detainer, would you?
I can't say that I did not honor the detainer.
I can.
I can say what I did honor was the conditions of the release that were issued by a judge. And so, therefore, and once again, ICE was notified that they could come pick up this individual.
Do you really believe in public safety?
Yes, sir, I do.
You would allow someone in our country, illegally, convicted of manslaughter, convicted of domestic violence, in your jail. ICE says, please hold him when his time is up. We want to get this criminal out of our country. And you said no?
ICE was notified that they could come pick up the individual, and for some reason they did not. And the judge issued the conditions of release. I am a custodian. I do not determine who is released or held. I follow the court's order.
Sheriff, I don't mean any disrespect, but you ought to be ashamed of that. How can you possibly be for public safety if you hate our immigration laws so much that you would let a convicted murderer back on the street? Do you really hate immigration laws that much?
Senator, it's not a matter of that I hate immigration law.
You could have fooled me, Sheriff.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your service. You're now in charge. I got to go vote. Holly is in charge. It's a dangerous moment.
Oh, all kinds of things could happen. I think Senator
He's putting the responsibility on the judiciary and on ICE for not showing up fast enough. It's a not my job defense that Kennedy clearly found repulsive. When Kennedy tells him, "You ought to be ashamed of that," he's not just talking to the sheriff, he's talking to every sanctuary jurisdiction in the country. As a professional analyst, what I see here is the fundamental breakdown of the comedy clause and the cooperation between local and federal authorities. When a sheriff says he follows the law but his own past quotes suggest an ideological hatred for that law, the public trust evaporates. Kennedy's closing remark, "You could have fooled me," is the sound of a bridge being burned in real time. This hearing marks a turning point. We are moving away from debates about general policy and toward a forensic examination of specific cases where the system failed. If a convicted murderer is back on the street because a sheriff and an ICE agent couldn't or wouldn't synchronize their watches, that's not a process issue. In Kennedy's eyes, that's a moral failure. Make sure you've hit that subscribe button. We're going to be looking into the details of House Bill 318 and whether it's actually closing these loopholes or just providing more cover for local officials. You won't get this level of breakdown anywhere else. Subscribe, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next report.